Earlier this week, 2 Green MSPs joined Nicola Sturgeon's government, taking the total number of ministers up to 29. Did all 29 agree with her proposals to introduce vaccine passports?
First Minister.
It will be Parliament next week that decides whether or not to introduce vaccine certification. I set out the reasons for the Scottish Government's view on that yesterday. Of course, all ministers, all 29 hard-working, dedicated ministers are bound by collective responsibility under the Ministerial Code. This is a question of how we best continue to control COVID and to do that in the least restrictive, most proportionate way. And I think vaccine certification, in the limited way I set out yesterday, has a role to play in doing that.
Douglas Ross.
The First Minister refused to say if they all agreed at the time of her announcement if they supported vaccine passports, because it seems that this coalition of chaos, which the First Minister described as a leap of faith earlier on this week, is already a leap into the dark for the Greens. But they're not the only people in Scotland who have no idea how vaccine passports are going to work. Hospitality groups say the lack of engagement is extremely concerning. Scottish football clubs have warned SNP's plans are completely unworkable. Industry groups need answers about this scheme before her government introduces it. Why haven't they had that chance?
First Minister.
Well, firstly, perhaps Douglas Ross should first and foremost concentrate on what his view on vaccine certification is, whether he supports it or opposes it, or whether he's going to continue simply to engage in the infantile opposition that characterises so much of the Conservatives' response to COVID. This is a global pandemic. It demands of politicians, particularly those of us in government, really tough decisions, and we've all got a responsibility to live up to that.
I was asking about her government, and Parliament will debate these plans, but it would be nice to know exactly what we are debating. Because at the moment, hospitality groups, football clubs and venues have no idea about what infrastructure will be in place or if they'll get any help to introduce this. It's just another example of the shambolic, last-minute, knee-jerk decision-making of this government. The same government that brought you confusion over what is a cafe now brings you confusion over what is a nightclub. John Swinney U-turned on vertical drinking, now he's U-turned on COVID passports. A month ago he was against them. Just this morning at the COVID committee, the Deputy First Minister suggested they could be permanent. This government has had months to prepare to get this right. If any of this has been properly thought through, will Nicola Sturgeon tell us exactly what infrastructure will be in place, who will administer it, what financial support will be available, and is the Deputy First Minister correct that these passports might be permanent?
First Minister.
Well, firstly, can I say that in the face of a global pandemic of an infectious virus, the public should be, and I suspect are, very wary of politicians who suggest that any government should take a dogmatic, unchanging position, because that is not the way you keep the public safe. In terms of looking at this, we have been considering it carefully. I could paper the walls of this chamber probably with quotes from me expressly saying that we hadn't ruled this out, that we wanted to consider it carefully. We were keeping our minds open. We had ruled out ever asking for vaccine passports for essential public services, but for settings like nightclubs, there was a debate to be had and a case to be made. So what we did, Cabinet discussed this on Tuesday. I came to Parliament to tell Parliament first yesterday that this was the government's intention, that we would take that to Parliament next week. We are engaging with sectors across the economy. We'll put the detail to Parliament to allow Parliament to decide, and then we, assuming Parliament agrees, we will implement this. That is not just the way government should operate. It is often, until it doesn't suit him, the way Douglas Ross demands that government operates. You know, this is a serious situation. A really serious situation again, not just for Scotland, for the UK, for many countries across Europe, where vaccine certification in many of those countries is already operating. Is it too much to expect in these serious times that we have a leader of the opposition that can engage properly with the substance of these matters?
Douglas Ross.